Welcome to the movie Madhouse. We are live on the air. And this week, I'm joined by Stefan again, but also my good buddy Mitch. How are you guys today?
Doing fantastic, Rob. How are you doing?
Peachy keen.
I'm, I'm doing serviceably.
Sir, what?
Serviceably. I'm A-okay.
Good. There we go. That's a word I understand. I learned a new word. What did you
I think
Don't worry about it.
It's time to move on from that one.
Ignore the word.
I told you, Stefan, hot mess. It was going to be great.
Yeah, just cut this all out. Just upload the podcast with adjust your bumper, and then it ends.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, we gathered today because we wanted to talk about our top 10s for the past decade.
Yes, sir. It's a tough list to make.
Yeah.
A lot of fun too.
I'm gonna preface mine by saying the two franchises that I removed completely were Star Wars and Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just because, well, Star Wars, everybody knows that's exactly what I would pick every single time. Doesn't matter what it is, I'm still gonna pick it.
I have one property in mind. One property.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we'll find out what that is.
Okay, so why don't we jump in? We'll start at 10. We'll work our way up to our number 1.
Oh shit! I guess I should have ordered these, eh? You know what? It's fine. I'll go with the list, the order that I'm going to go in reverse order. I think that'll be best.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm good, Rob. Don't worry about me.
Okay, so Mitch, what's your first number 10?
So my number 10 was one that I wasn't sure if I wanted to put it on, but I think it's a really great movie, and I've actually revisited it a few times. It's Eighth Grade, the Bo Burnham directed sort of coming of age high school or middle school drama. Honestly, American schools confuse me sometimes. But just a young girl coming of age, especially in the current age of social media and things, and looking for acceptance. But I think it's a fantastic movie. It's equal parts hilarious, but also has a ton of heart and great performances, and sort of like an indie movie that not mega popular, but really struck a chord with me. I loved it. I don't know about you guys. Rob, you look confused.
No, I'm
It's a sweet
remembering
movie.
that. I'm remembering that
I love
one.
that movie.
I've not seen it, but I do remember the trailers and stuff coming out for it now.
It's great. If you guys haven't seen it, I definitely would recommend watching it. Like I said, I've seen it a few times. It's not overly long. Like I said, it's a super easy watch, but just a lot of fun. I don't know if you are Bo Burnham fans, but I enjoy his stand-up and his comedy shows. So I'm a big fan of his, and so just a huge fan of the movie itself. Yeah, definitely one worth watching.
What year did that come out?
That was, let me do my research here. This would have been, I think, 2018, I think.
Yep, I just peeked. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
kind of jotting that down. I'm just going to see if we have a year that the majority of our films seem to come from.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
I did not record any of my years, so
That's okay.
this is going to be me
All right, we'll
Googling
try and
everything.
go off the top.
IMDb. IMDb is a wonderful thing.
Awesome. So my number 10 is Dogtooth, which is the first movie from Yorgos Lanthimos. I'm probably butchering his last name. I have no idea. It's very Greek. It's the first movie of his that I saw. He's probably more popular now for directing like The Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer, most recently The Favorite. And this is an English language film. This is Greek. It's in 2011. I know that. This is the one movie I know. 2009.
2009.
That is a goddamn lie.
He's always breaking the rules.
You couldn't even get one in before it went south.
I swear to God, I looked it up. All right, I'll swap this out on the fly. Okay.
All right, love it.
All right, so I have an honorable mention list just in case any of these situations arise. I'm going to select Blue Ruin as my number 10. which is the Jeremy Saulnier movie.
Love
Most recently, he did what's the Netflix movie he did?
Hold the Dark.
Hold the Dark, and then he did The Green Room, which is a wonderful kind of like trapped in a room escape movie with a bunch of punks trying to buy Nazi skins, led by Patrick Stewart. But this movie in particular centers around a homeless man who lives in a car, and he gets news that the person who murdered his parents has been released from prison, which sets him on a course to take revenge on those people. And there's like a lot of like wonderful little moments in this movie that I think are fantastic. Like when you're first introduced to this person, he's in a car, but you might not recognize that there are like a bunch of bullet holes in the car. You might only pick that up on like a rewatch, but that's because he's in his parents' car where they were murdered. And like there's like small touches like that that I think are like really, really wonderful. And so that's my new number 10.
Your new number 10. I like that.
Rob, have you seen that one?
I have not.
It's fantastic. It actually was a very close to making my list because I love Blue Ruin, and I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of small moments and little things throughout the movie. But I love a good revenge movie, which you'll see on my list a little later on. But what I love about this movie is it's a revenge movie, but it's a guy who has no business getting revenge or setting out to get revenge on someone. It's just like a average guy who doesn't really know what he's doing. I love the scene where he's breaking off the lock on like the trigger lock or trigger guard on the pistol. Just like little moments like that where it's not something that you would think about, but wholly realistic. Just a different take on a revenge kind of movie. I love that movie. So great pick, Stefan. Fantastic.
Thank
love
you.
that you mentioned that.
That guy's so bad at revenge. Just not good.
It's not a comedy, though.
Wait, I heard of. I've never even heard of Dogtooth, so I want to watch that one now.
Dogtooth is wonderful. It sucks that it came out in 2009. I thought it was 2011, but fail right off the top.
No, that just sets the bar nice and low, so it only gets better from here, right?
I hope so.
Okay, my number 10. This is going to vary way off for you guys. Mine's True Grit.
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
2010, the remake with Jeff Bridges.
The Coen brothers.
Yes, man. I'm a big fan of Westerns, and I really liked the John Wayne True Grit. But the way they did this one, I liked it that much more. Matt Damon's in it for a little brief period there, and it feels comfortable to me. That's what this movie is. It's a comfortable movie that I can go back to over and over again. And it's kind of a revenge flick-ish.
Definitely.
Yeah, tangentially revenge.
from a tiny, teeny little girl. Yes.
I know you love Westerns, so are there more Westerns on your list? I'm curious.
Actually, no.
Oh, surprising. I was very close to putting to Hell or High Water on my list, which is like a wonderful heist Western kind of feel movie. I love that one yet. It's so good.
It's great, Rob. Definitely.
I know. I keep looking at it, and it's like, okay, I got to watch that. But I'm usually with people, and it's like, okay, we'll watch Avengers.
Crowd pleaser.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Their scheme for robbing banks is like absolutely wonderful. Like
Dude, my movie list is just growing after last night and tonight. I've already got 2 I have to watch.
Yeah, it's why I love doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I wanted to touch on True Grit a little bit before we get back to me, just because I didn't love it when I saw it in the theaters, but it's one that I want to revisit, particularly because, and I knew that I would be able to mention him even if he's not in any of my lists. Barry Pepper is fantastic in True Grit. Just a wonderful performance, which I felt like was overshadowed by other, like I think Haley Steinfeld and Bridges and Matt Damon were all nominated for Oscars, and you had Josh Brolin in there as well. So Barry Pepper sort of took a backseat to all the big names, but I think he's just as good as the rest of the cast.
He's great. We just recently watched Green Mile, And it's the same thing in there. He is an amazing actor in there, but you got Tom Hanks, you got Michael Clark Duncan, you've got David Morse, you've got all these other people.
Oh, yeah.
So it's hard for him to step up, but
it is. But he's a solid contributor in any cast that he's in, especially monster trucks.
Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield Earth. I knew that one was going to
Those are the ones we don't talk about.
Yeah.
But, a truly wonderful Canadian actor who.
But you can tell too, because when we're watching it, Christina kept saying, "I recognize that guy," and that's just it. He's been in so much stuff you remember, but he's not that forefront
for sure.
But yeah.
Had to get my Barry Pepper plug in there.
This podcast is sponsored by Barry Pepper.
I wish. I'll call him up. He can come on. We can just talk about how much I love him.
BarryPepper.com and mention the podcast.
All right. If we're going to move on to my number 9 here. This is, I guess, kind of a revenge movie, but You Were Never Really Here. The Joaquin Phoenix starring movie from 2018 as well, I believe. Rob, are you checking that for me?
I am going to be. That's on your list?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it sounds like you've seen it and do not approve.
I haven't seen it.
I love this movie. Like, it reminds me of like a 70s movie where every character is sweating. Like, it just feels dirty. And I love that.
2017. Okay. Yeah. But
well, nobody heard of it for the longest time. So 18, you could get away with very easily.
I heard of it, Rob. Yeah. I think Stefan and I have talked about it before. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of this movie. Like, for whatever reason, just gritty crime, drama, revenge kind of movies always. That's my kind of movie. So watching this movie with a hulking Joaquin Phoenix, but not in like a Chris Hemsworth Thor kind of way. Like, he's built and he's intimidating, but he looks like a real person. Like, I buy that he's this fucked up dude that's going after people with a ball peen hammer. But what I love about the movie as well is and I guess is a common theme between Blue Ruin and other movies is we've seen revenge movies done so many ways, or we've seen these types of movies, but with this movie, most of the violence takes place off screen. So it's just as brutal. You see sort of the approach, and in certain scenes where he's walking through building, taking people out, we revert to security camera footage, or we move away so we're not directly in the action, but it's still just as impactful and just as brutal. And you feel the violence, even though it's not done in a way like a Saw movie or something where you're right up front and things like that. And so I really appreciated that about this movie, and Joaquin Phoenix's performance in the movie. The guy's brilliant. Obviously, he just won the Oscar for Joker, but I think he's fantastic in this movie as well.
And see, I got to be honest, that's the only reason I watched it, is Joaquin was in it. And I'm thinking this might be one of those ones I have to revisit. I watched a movie called You're Next, and I hated it.
The movie's awesome.
But
right? Everybody kept talking to me about it, and it's like, how can you like that movie? So another day I went back and I watched it, and I thought it was amazing. So I'm thinking maybe I just wasn't in the mindset to watch that movie, because it is a very deep movie.
For sure. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Stefan.
I was gonna say there's a lot of like striking imagery in the movie that I really appreciate. Like,
I
find like a hammer to be like a particularly horrifying weapon. Like, when I used to live in Ottawa, I think there was a serial hammer attacker like going around. So like that was like top of mind for a little while, and it is like the imagery of that like disgusts me. And then when he like hyperventilates into like the bag, it's just like a lot of like catching imagery in that movie.
Yeah, and I think that what the movie also does really well is it gives you a backstory. It builds his character without exposition, without doing too much. Like, you get little quick flashes of him as a kid, or, like you said, with, hyperventilating. And that stuff's really quick, but it builds on that character, and you know exactly who you're dealing with without spending a ton of time, going back with flashbacks or exposition, him talking to somebody, things like that. Like I think the movie's not even 90 minutes long, but it still does a great job of building up his character. So yeah, love it.
Yeah, that movie moves.
Okay, I cannot argue all that logic you just said, because those were I enjoyed.
That's the beauty of movies, Rob, is that everybody sees them differently, and we all have our own opinions. We all appreciate different things in them. So that's why I love talking about movies. That's why I'm so excited to talk to you guys.
Awesome.
All right. I swear to God, this movie is in the 2010s. All right.
Let's find out.
So my number 9 is my property movie, and it is Mad Max Fury Road.
That one definitely.
that movie rips.
2015.
Yeah, there we go. 100%. I remember when they had like promo imagery for this movie, and I seen like all the production design for it. I was like, this movie is going to be wicked, and like I'm a huge Tom Hardy fan. So seeing him in like the titular role, I was just like, this is gonna be really, really cool. Like Charlize Theron's amazing. And I was really, really excited to check this out when it finally came out. It met all this expectations and exceeded it. And you have like a 70-year-old plus director, like directing nonstop action in a way that most young people could absolutely not do is, wonderful. Action. Yeah. And the framing of each shot, so your eyes aren't like constantly darting around. They kind of like move with each shot. So it's like meticulously storyboarded as well as like, shot, and just like it flows wonderfully. And you think that prolonged action would become stale, rampant nonstop action movies, and you kind of just like your attention starts to wane. This one like captures your attention, and you stick with it. It is easily number 9 for me.
Mitch, what do you
think? My thoughts on Mad Max?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a bad movie by any means. It's a good movie. I think that for me, it didn't live up to the hype, and I don't know that it could have.
Yeah, it was huge.
Going into it, the hype was insane. The reviews were insane, and it was this is one of the greatest movies ever made. And so I'm like, oh really?
Yeah. Good way to tell it.
Well, let me see this movie.
So, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. It just wasn't one that, that stood out for me. It is another one that, in the years since, I'm like, I should go back and watch that again. But in terms of, technical achievement alone, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The action is insane, beautiful to look at the same time. So, yeah, I can't argue with the choice for sure.
Yeah, this movie is like world building, like on crack. Like it's like so imaginative. Like all those movies are super imaginative.
Yeah.
It was great seeing Tom Hardy as Max. Like he took over that role beautifully.
Yeah, nobody wants to see Mel Gibson as Max anymore.
No.
Hard pass.
Yeah, we're done with that. That's good. And plus, I had to watch it because Charlize is one of my 5. So anything she's in, okay, I have to watch and love.
Is Sally Fields on that list?
Sally Fields.
She's my 5.5.
Yeah, Charlize, then Sally Fields.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. My number 9 goes back to horror-ish. Okay. Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, this is on my honorable mention list. I fucking love this movie.
It's a great movie.
I love how they take every horror stereotype and they throw it on a board. You freeze frame that stuff. You can read each and every one of them, and you see them in the monster thing afterwards. You got the zombies, you got the flying things, and I absolutely adore that movie. I watch it over and over.
I also watched this like into infinity. The opening where they're having like their kind of like office humdrum conversation is like incredibly comical, and then it just smash cuts to the title. Like that's my kind of filmmaking. I love that. Like super creative.
That's it, because you got the beginning, you got the college kids getting ready for the trip, and then boom, you have this suddenly office, and they're driving on that little cart.
Yeah.
Like, what the? How are these even related? And
yeah, totally.
I love it.
I support that.
Yeah, 100% behind that choice, Rob. Love Cabin in the Woods. Everything you said, turning sort of everything on its head and poking fun at all the different horror stereotypes and genres is fantastic. Love it.
And I love that they were doing an interview during the press run I think it was with Chris Hemsworth, and the one guy said, "So what do you think? Is there going to be a cabin in the woods too?" And Chris goes, "You've really never seen the film, have you?" It's like, no.
Yeah. The one scene that always stands out for me, apart from the was it Merman?
Oh yeah, the Merman.
But just like the sort of elevator bank scene when all the elevators open at the same time, and it just becomes mayhem.
It's that pure moment of silence, and then wham.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love it. It's a great movie.
Someone online, Linda Creswick says, "Hey fellas."
Hi, Linda.
Linda has two stores, I guess. She has DreamWorks Costume and Lindy Cosplay Supplies. She is a staple at CKX, and she has amazing costuming stuff. Like, and if anything you could dream of. I actually got a pair of zombie contacts from her at one point.
Oh, yeah. Why aren't you wearing them right now, Rob?
Yeah, seriously.
This is the perfect occasion.
Dude, I spent a day trying to touch my eye with a contact, and I couldn't do it. I ended up getting rid of the contacts because I couldn't even put it in my eye.
Oh, don't say that. She's listening.
Oh, she knows, because I told her. But what movie? Depends. We've mentioned a few, so I don't think I can safely answer that because we have definitely moved. And as a matter of fact, we're going on to number 8.
Number 8. Okay. So this is one that I was actually just watching some clips of beforehand and getting ready to rewatch. Another crime drama movie, definitely something that's been inspiring to me. The Place Beyond the Pines is the movie that I love. I know that it's not everyone's favorite, but for some reason the movie struck me in a way that I had to watch it in the theater 3 times. Which I never do. And it's not just because Ryan Gosling and Bradley Cooper are so handsome either.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. No, just I don't know what it is about the movie. I think the story's told in sort of 3 different parts. Firstly, have you both seen the movie?
I've not seen this movie.
I want to.
Okay.
I want to, but I haven't.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a movie about sort of fathers and sons and their relationships and sort of what how you're born into something or raised. I mean, it's I'm doing a terrible job at explaining what this movie is about.
Give me 2 tickets.
But I don't know. There's just something about the movie. Like I said, it's told in 3 separate parts, so it's not really a traditional narrative, and I think that maybe didn't sit well with a lot of people. There's some other things in the movie that also I know that people watched and were very disappointed by. I won't say anything because I don't want to spoil the movie for you guys. But I think the performances are great. I just think that it looks fantastic. I think you both should watch it. I don't want to say too much if you haven't seen it, but yeah, definitely one that's one of my favorites. Something that I go back to all the time.
Ben Mendelsohn's in that.
Ben Mendelsohn is the man, and he is fantastic in that movie.
Yeah, he deserves high fives.
I've been watching him. Like, we're watching Bloodline right now. On
Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah, he's great in that.
I'm loving that. Yeah.
And you know who else is in it in a very small role? Mahershala Ali randomly shows up. And at the time, he wasn't, the Oscar-winning actor that he is now. But he's great in it too. Yeah, really good movie. Definitely worth watching. And let me know when you do watch it. I'll be very curious to hear your thoughts.
Oh, absolutely. That's a fun thing I like to do just as trivia. I like going back to watch like 10, 11, 12 movies and seeing people that are stars now in those early roles.
Yeah.
Like literally, I love watching Coming to America for the Samuel Jackson scene. That was like his first big film. So
yeah.
I think you guys all know that I'm rewatching Grey's Anatomy from the first season, and I'm in like season 13 now because I'm a disgusting human being. But like 11 is in an episode when she was like very young, like way pre like Stranger Things. Like, there's a ton of like actors who are just randomly pop up, but
nice.
Reach full acclaim well after Grey's Anatomy. They're still in Grey's.
It's the launching pad for all these movies.
That's where Negan got his start.
It's true, yeah. The Denny Duquette Memorial Hospital.
Yeah. I think that's when Grey's started to die for me, is after that storyline.
Oh man, you have to get past Derek Shepherd dying, which is like, he sucks the life out of the show, and then when he dies, it gets wonderful again.
I'm down.
I hope someone just tuned into this, like in the last 2 minutes, just to hear the Grey's Anatomy conversation.
Welcome to the Grey's Anatomy discussion. So
we're just huge Patrick Dempsey fans.
That's right. McSteamy or McDreamy?
I'm a McSteamy fan personally.
Crap, I forget who's who, so I don't know.
McSteamy is the plastic surgeon, and Derek Shepard is McDreamy, who's the neurosurgeon.
There we go. Yeah, okay, I'm a McSteamy fan too. I can't remember his name, but
he's so much funnier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I derailed that. I apologize.
That's okay. You know, it's the best. Sometimes you just got to talk Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah. So my number 8 pick is Grey's Anatomy.
I knew it.
All right, no, seriously. My number 8 pick is Under the Shadow, which is it's an Iranian horror film. I believe it's a co-production with the UK. And it's set during the Iran-Iraq conflict, around the time when they start to utilize ballistic warfare. So this is a horror movie that kind of transitions from the fear of like getting, shelled. So it goes from like wartime horror to actual horror, where they have like a djinn that they're dealing with in their apartment building, and it is such a wonderful movie. I think it might be on Netflix, so if you have it, check it out. It's just like they live in this desolate, building that's just growing increasingly desolate because everybody's fleeing to the countryside for fear of ballistic warfare, which is a very reasonable concern. And it has like legitimately horrifying moments in it, and it's just really impactful for me. I thought it was A+.
What's this called again?
Under the Shadow.
Okay. I wrote that wrong.
I believe the director made another movie called what was it called? It started Army Hammer. It's like a particularly difficult watch. It's like a very slow burn, and I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it. Or soft recommend. If you've got an hour and a half, check it out.
I misheard you, and this is what I looked up.
Shadows of 3.5. It did come out in 2017, so it's it could have been.
It's still better than Dogtooth in that regard.
It's in the right area.
Yeah.
Stefan, actually, I watched Under the Shadow based on your recommendation, and really enjoyed it. So that was I think this past October when I do my horror movie month of watching things, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's really nice to see foreign films like this, where it's not the same slasher bullshit that you get with certain North American films. Like, you see how the culture and what was going on there during that conflict is impacting this particular story, and that's what makes it unique. And so I love seeing interesting stories like that, things that are different that you'd never get from a North American filmmaker. So love it when you recommended that to me. Really great movie.
Thank you.
Crap.
What's up? You lost your list.
No. You just made me change my pick for this one. I have to rewrite it.
Is it Sheely?
You're goddamn right.
Yeah. Sheely has to be in here somewhere.
That's my number 1. This one, and until you started talking foreign films, I completely forgot that I watched this one, and I absolutely adore it. It's Train to Busan.
Oh, movie rips, yeah. Very
right?
Good. Yeah,
great movie.
Suggested to me just on a whim because I like zombie movies, and I had no idea what I was getting into when I turned that on. Like beginning to end, it's just a wild little ride with these zombies.
It's a great father-daughter story as well. It's just a great emotional core to the story.
Well, when they said, it's about zombies on a train, I'm thinking, okay, they did that with snakes. It didn't turn out.
I mean, this came out at the height of zombie fatigue. I want to say I don't think anybody was stoked to see a zombie movie, but then this came out, and I think more recently When Cut Up the Dead came out, which is another zombie movie that a lot of people love. Proving that I guess zombies aren't dead.
Well, actually, they are.
Oh yeah. The subgenre isn't dead.
Okay, I can accept that one. Okay, in that case, number 7.
Number 7. All right, I'm switching things up from my my crime movies here, and I'm going with a straight comedy. This Is the End.
Oh yes.
I thought it was just absolutely hysterical. I've seen it, too many times at this point. I quote this movie all the time. I don't know, something to me about actors playing themselves, but over the top and ridiculous sort of caricatures of themselves was great. Jonah Hill in this movie is hilarious. Michael Cera in his brief moments. I don't know. This one just, as any good comedy does, just made me laugh all the way through and continues to do so when I revisit it. So I needed to put a solid, just straight comedy on here, and I thought that that this was an excellent choice for that spot.
I like Jay Baruchel a lot too. He's like incredibly funny in the movie.
Oh
Yeah, he's great.
He's got a natural dryness to him when it comes to comedy.
He's proudly Canadian too, which I appreciate. He just doesn't hide away from that,
Yeah. And have you ever seen the source material, like the short they did?
I haven't seen the short actually.
No.
Seth and Jay versus the Apocalypse or something like that. I can't remember. I have the Blu-ray and it's on there, and it's weird because it's a dark little short.
Yeah.
And then they turned it into this magnificent comedy. Like the opening scene with the sinkhole is just, you get Oscar Isaacs falling in the hole, Rihanna falling in the hole.
Paul Rudd stepping on some dude's face and destroying. Well, he's carrying something. I don't even know what he's carrying. Something ridiculous.
A big bottle of champagne.
A big bottle of champagne.
Right? And as a matter of fact, here's a different James saying, "Hey guys."
Hello, James.
James listens a lot. And James is an awesome guy. I tried to coax him into being part of CKX, but he's smart and he said, "I'll just go." Yeah, man. This Is the End. Great choice.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I'm mad I forgot about that one now.
My next film is Take Shelter, starring Michael Shannon. This director, whose name escapes me right now, did Midnight Special, which is another movie that I could have easily put on this list that I really appreciated. He did, I think, Shotgun Wedding was his first feature. He also did Mud. I love this movie.
Jeff Nichols.
Jeff Nichols, thank you. I did zero research. So off the cuff. Let me struggle through this. So Michael Shannon's character is a father, and he starts to have these apocalyptic visions and sets to building a shelter. While the town kind of, it just ostracizes him. People are like, "What is this like insane person doing? Is this a weird riff on like Noah's Ark style?" Like mentality, like what's going on with this guy. I'm a huge fan of movies where a town kind of like revolts against someone. A movie that almost got on my list was The Hunt, which is a Danish film that I love, starring Mads Mikkelsen. Very close to being on this list. Yeah, I would love to make a movie like that in a similar vein. I want to take a satanic panic movie essentially where the town's revolting against this like heavy metal kid. I love this type of movie. It's wonderful. Well acted. Cinematography is great. That's where I land.
Rob, have you seen Take Shelter?
I have not. I love Michael Shannon. Like you whenever you see him, all the way from Man of Steel all the way to 8 Mile, like his characters are always so well grounded.
Yeah, he's a brilliant guy, and he's fantastic in Take Shelter. I'm a big fan of that movie as well. He's amazing. Like he's worth the price of admission alone. But love the movie. And then you've got, I think, Jessica Chastain plays his wife, and Shea Wiggum is in it. He's fantastic too. Really great movie. And like you said, Jeff Nichols has done some other great stuff too. Midnight Special is great. So yeah, happy to see that on your list, because it's another one that I saw, I think, at TIFF actually when the year that it came out, and I haven't rewatched it since, but it's always in the back of my mind as something like I really want to go back and watch Take Shelter.
The scene where he like is in the community center, they were having their kind of like community potluck and he flips the table. It's just like a goosebumps moment where it's just so well acted, very uncomfortable. Wonderful movie.
For sure.
I gotta watch it. That's it. I gotta watch it.
Check it out.
Glad I'm writing this list down because this way I got something to go by. Well, my number 7. It's actually a biopic, I guess you'd say, a docudrama.
Judy.
Is there a Sally Fields biopic out?
There is now. I'm writing it. It's close. Straight Outta Compton.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Yes. I
Really good movie.
love how they did that biography for NWA. And the fact that Ice Cube's son plays him. He has the look of a young Ice Cube, obviously.
Yeah.
It gave it that much more believability. And the fact that Paul Giamatti character, I can't remember the name, but the actual character got mad at this movie because it made him look like such a jerk. When the other 6 people in the story keep saying he was a jerk.
Yeah.
I love how they put that together.
Yeah, I think I can't really remember it too much, but I remember loving like the first half of the movie. Not so much the second half. I can't really recall why, but there's I'm adding nothing to this right now. I'm like,
Welcome to podcasting.
I can tell you how I felt about it, but I can't really recall what caused that feeling. I apologize.
Yeah. I was also a big fan of the movie, Rob, and it sort of came out of nowhere. I remember seeing the trailers for it and thinking, like, how's this movie really going to be, biopic about NWA? And you always wonder with actual members of the group being involved in producing the movie. It's like, okay, is this just going to be sort of a fluff piece for them? And I know in some ways certain things were left out, and I won't get into those. But the movie surprised me. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of rap music and didn't know a ton about NWA. I listened to their music, but it was a little bit before my time of listening to rap music. But yeah, no, big fan of the movie. So yeah, solid choice.
Excellent. In that case, number 6.
All right.
I should have had these recorded.
Yeah. Gotta go really deep there, right?
Sweet soft voice.
That's right.
All right. So this probably would have been lower on my list had I written it, 1 to 10, actually ranking things. But I think it's a fantastic movie. Marriage Story. I don't know if you guys watched it. Came out last year.
Anna watched it. My partner watched it, and she liked it a lot. I haven't seen it myself. It feels like a gut punch. It looks like a gut punch.
It is an absolute gut punch, but in the best way. I don't know why. I've talked to a lot of people about this movie, and they're like, I don't want to watch it because it just looks so sad or heartbreaking. It's like, but the best movies are movies that make you feel something, and this movie, probably more than anything last year, made me feel something. Before watching this and before last year, Adam Driver was sort of just like to me, doesn't do much for me as Kylo Ren, and I had never seen him in anything that he really impressed me in. But watching him last year in this movie, he's amazing. You may have seen the couple of scenes that have sort of that made the rounds during for press and during Oscar seasons, but just in those couple of scenes alone, it's like even watching those scenes by themselves now, it's like try not to cry. But yeah, just fantastic movie. And Scarlett Johansson, also another person who before that, I thought she was a decent actress, didn't have any issues with her, but last year in Jojo Rabbit and then in this, just amazing performances in both those movies. But Marriage Story is fantastic. Love the movie. It's heartbreaking to watch, but like I said, in a way that makes you feel something. It just moves you. And I think relatable for anybody who's
a mother who really plays.
What I love about Charlie, he loves being a dad. He loves
Oh, dude, yeah, this is this would hurt.
I was wondering what was happening.
Okay, I'm just listening to the beginning, and yeah, I can see them setting up to rip your heart out. That's
yes, an excellent Excellent movie. Love the movie, and definitely worth watching. When you have some time and you want to be alone and have a good cry, throw it on. I recommend it.
Speaking of Adam Driver, I really liked him in Logan Lucky as well. That's a solid Adam Driver performance.
True. Yes, I forgot that he was in there.
Oh yeah.
I believe with the fake arm, correct?
Yes.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember thinking it was amazing, like having a good time with it.
Yes, I
Cool.
forgot he was in that.
All right, so I guess we're on to Stefan's
yes.
6.
So my number 6 is Drive. Obviously, Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive is a very, very suspenseful movie starring Ryan Gosling, where he plays a getaway driver. This movie has aesthetics to burn, but has the luxury of not being written by Nicholas Winding Refn, was actually good. Like, he's a step away from writing his material. I have zero interest in revisiting Neon Demon, Only God Forgives. I think that those are dumpster fires, personally. But this movie is a blast. I have a huge affinity for synthwave, and there's a ton of that in this movie. Just a bone-chilling performance from Ryan Gosling as a sociopathic driver.
I have not seen this one.
Robert.
It came down to this and Baby Driver, and I went to see Baby Driver, and I fell in love with that. So I watched it quite a few times, and every time I see Drive, it reminds me of Baby Driver.
They're very similar in tone.
Yeah, totally.
It's purely just the title, and it's like Baby Drive. Okay, Baby Driver. So
When You'd Love Driven with Sylvester Stallone.
Is that a Formula One movie?
Yeah.
The only Formula One movie.
I love Drive, Stefan. Fantastic movie. Another one that would have been an honorable mention for me. Also agree on Only God Forgives being a dumpster fire.
Oh my god!
But no, Drive's fantastic. Like you said, the aesthetics of the movie are amazing. Soundtrack is phenomenal. It's when I bought a TV when I moved into this new place and a sound bar, and I decided the first thing that I was going to listen to was Drive. So I threw that on, and just the opening scene alone, like the sort of car chase, but it's not even really that much of a car chase, but it's super suspenseful, sitting at the stoplight and you see the cop on the other end, and they sort of have a little bit of the showdown there. Yeah, love Drive. It's fantastic.
Yeah, there's incredible tension in that.
Yeah.
My list is just getting huge.
All right, Rob, give us a number 6.
My number 6, and this one was a bombed movie technically, but I adore this. I watch it so much. Sucker Punch. Zack Snyder.
Release the Snyder cut.
Yeah, right? I haven't seen the Snyder cut of this yet.
I don't know anything about this movie. Sorry.
Oh, you've not seen it?
No.
This was his first original film. Because before this, he did Dawn of the Dead, which is a remake, and 200, and
Watchmen, I think, before this, I would imagine.
Tales of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole or whatever. But Sucker Punch was the first original story that he wrote and directed. And it's so comic booky, everyone assumes it's from a comic book. Because it is. It's about a woman or a girl who gets tossed into a mental institution about to be lobotomized. And in that moment, you experience the movie, which is her trying to escape from this asylum. And it's got Scott Glenn in it, Emily Browning, so sorry. And I can't think of some of the other people. Carla
Gugino?
Yes,
something.
that one.
Carla Hoboka?
Yeah. Her, Carla G. And Oscar Isaacs is in it as well.
I think does John Hamm make an appearance? Am I wrong in that? I feel like he's a doctor in that.
I think you're right. But it's a very, very quick appearance.
Yeah.
I love some Oscar Isaac in my life, so.
Oh, you'd love this movie for that. Just him alone in this movie. He is such a dick.
I have two Oscar Isaac movies on my list. Well, he was in Drive, my previous one, but he's also in Two Down. We'll see what that is.
I bet I have an idea.
John Hamm is the
Star
doctor.
Wars.
Yeah. How'd you guess?
Gugino. Carla Gugino?
We'll leave it at we don't know exactly how to pronounce
Carla.
Yeah, it's Carla. From Sin
And
City.
Vanessa Hudgens too. That's right. It was the first after High School. What was that? High School
High School
Musical thing.
Musical.
Yeah.
And then she was in Vanessa Hudgens was in Spring Breakers too, right? Yeah. Spring Breakers is an A+ movie, almost on my list. Very close.
We got a lot of honorable mentions.
Man, I have a
10 years of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very true. Well,
Yeah.
now we're up to
All right.
number 5.
Okay. Number 5. So I think that this is the closest that I'm going to come to horror on my list here, which is the Korean film I Saw the Devil.
Movie?
What's that?
I said I love that movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mentioned you'd see another revenge movie on my list, and this certainly qualifies as maybe the most sadistic type of revenge movie. But that's another thing that I love about it is that it takes your standard revenge movie plot and turns it on its head with sort of this constant cat and mouse. And every time this guy thinks he's getting into a situation where he's free or he's gotten away, then the protagonist shows up and beats the hell out of him. But then it does become a cat and mouse game, and the tables get turned, and it just takes some really interesting directions, and it's sort of equal parts extremely creepy at times, but there's some almost like action sequences that are really well done as well. Great performances. Really love this movie, and I wanted to include some foreign film on my list, and this is one that I've revisited a few times. So fantastic.
Have you seen that one, Stefan?
Yeah, this movie is wonderful. It's also on my honorable mentions list. I was very close to putting it on, but because this movie is like so aggressive, it like makes me a bit uncomfortable. This movie is a lot. So Rob, if you haven't seen this, the premise of this movie is this. I don't think they really describe what he is, but he's like a security detail for, I think, politicians, I believe, is kind of what he is. His wife gets murdered by a serial killer, and he sets out to basically ruin this guy's life. He wants to make him want to die, essentially. It just keeps like hunting him down, slitting his like Achilles tendon, fixing it, and then knocking him out and putting him in the middle of a field, and then hunting him down again and doing something worse. Like, it's a lot.
It is definitely a very aggressive movie, but I don't know why. Something that I appreciate about it, and I get some weird kicks from watching it.
Well, like
it's wonderful.
It's a movie that makes you feel.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like a punch.
Yeah, in different ways. Sometimes you want to throw up watching.
My number 5, I think, might be controversial. I picked The Social Network. I don't know how you guys. Yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I'm not sure how we're sort of working things out here, but it's also on my list. Just for
sweet,
yeah,
awesome, yeah. All right, so I love this movie. It's got a few problems, like a lack of female characters that are well developed, for one. But this is like David Fincher, like nailing it direction wise. A really great Aaron Sorkin walkie-talkie script. Just really, really enjoyable. I watch this twice a year probably.
Really? See, I've only ever seen it the one time, and I did like it, but I've never had an urge to revisit it.
I have no idea why. This movie is like propulsive crack for me. If I ever want to feel like motivated to do anything, I just watch this movie, then I go and tackle that task. And that's probably the wrong thing to derive from this movie, but that's how, it works for me.
Yeah, but the movie for some reason is like eminently rewatchable. Like you just I can go back and, like you said, watch it multiple times, and it never feels like it's gotten old. I mean, I love David Fincher's, aesthetic and his style. But you watch him in movies like, Seven or Zodiac or Gone Girl, The Dragon Tattoo. Like, these are all serial killers and murderers and things like that. And it's really interesting to see him take what I think is a similar style and aesthetic and apply it to, the creation and the foundation of Facebook and, the ensuing chaos between all the lawsuits and, relationships. But I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. I was disappointed when it lost Best Picture to The King's Speech.
Yeah, F The King's Speech. Fuck that movie.
But yeah, this is this fantastic movie, and performances are great too. Like, Jesse Eisenberg probably hasn't done anything better than this. Andrew Garfield's really great in this. Surprisingly, Justin Timberlake is very good.
Yeah,
in this movie,
Dude, Lex Luthor.
yeah.
I was
Jesse-
like,
Maybe not.
Michael Rosenbaum is in this movie.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
There's a new Jesse Eisenberg movie that I actually want to see called Vivarium. But I haven't checked it out yet, but it's about a couple going to buy a home, and they're kind of driven to this like perfect suburban neighborhood, and they're quickly left there and they're unable to get out. And that's kind of like the central premise of it. And it sounds kind of my speed. I've heard like very, very mixed reviews where people are like, this is an exercise in tedium for an hour and a half, and then other people are like, this is amazing. So
Okay. And what was the name of it?
Vivarium.
Vivarium?
Yeah. Nailed it. Cool.
Right there.
That's the one.
Okay. Oh, with what is that? Imogen Poots from Green Room? Yeah, great.
That is, in fact, Imogen.
All right, I think
Okay.
what are we on? Rob's number 5?
Yes.
Is that what we're on?
Yes. Sorry, I was just peeking to see who else was in it. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm good. I'm happy now. Let's get rid of that screen. Back to this. Okay. And where's my list? Too many screens. There we go.
It's cheating.
It is. I've got 3 screens on the go right now. Mine, this one, I guess it's totally different from anything else I've picked so far. But I love Michael Keaton. Ever since I saw Clean and Sober, I have fallen in love with his serious acting. And this one came out in 2014, Birdman.
Sweet movie.
I absolutely love this movie. I've watched this one quite a few times. And it's just because of the way it feels so real, I think. You can see him kind of break down inside. You wonder exactly how much is in his head that you're experiencing as opposed to reality happening to him.
This is a movie whose script, when I first saw it, I was like, legit, what the hell is this? Like, then it was so successful, which just goes to show that I'm an idiot.
Well, no, because even when it first came out and it was announced, like Birdman, I'm thinking, what the heck? He's playing a superhero character or something? Like it just right out of left field. But I love what they did with it. I do.
Yeah, I'll admit that that this one was not one that I connected with. I wasn't sure what the hype was all about. Everyone talking about how much they love this movie. Did it win Best Picture? I think it did, or certainly it was close to it. But yeah, I don't know. There was a disconnect between me and the movie. I think the performances are great, and they do the sort of one take trick with all the hidden cuts, which is fine. But yeah, I don't know. There was just something I couldn't quite get on the same level as this movie. So that was fine. Maybe I'll rewatch it one day. But yeah, I don't know.
4 Oscars.
There you
go.
It proves that I'm an idiot, I guess, Stefan. I watched it.
Yeah, it did. It got Best Motion Picture, Best Achievement in Directing, Best Writing, and Best Achievement in Cinematography. So there you go. But yeah, that's my number 5. which
All right,
means
Rob, give us a sexy number 4.
number 4.
Sorry, what was that, Stefan?
I asked Rob to give us a sexy number 4.
Oh, a sexy number 4.
And he then gave us a sexy number 4.
4.
All right, so my number 4 is the, I don't know, is it second or first? No, second film from Yorgos Lanthimos, which is The Lobster. You had Dogtooth on there temporarily, but I haven't seen Dogtooth. I haven't seen Dogtooth.
It's a good movie.
But The Lobster, that was one that it came out of left field for me and just knocked me on my ass. I thought it was amazing. Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
Just got to cut in for a minute. The judges have ruled this one is acceptable because it's 2015.
All right, wait, 1 second. So Toronto's release date of Dogtooth is January 28th, 2011.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll count
it.
I think we can count that. We are Canadian. We should go by the Toronto release date. Okay. Judges, both are accepted.
That's fair.
So please, go ahead, Mitch. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, no, this was one that I had heard about, just like, winner or popular at, Cannes or Sundance or something, just, heard rumblings about. And then when I caught it, I didn't know what I was getting into because I was not familiar at all with this director's style or sort of absurd brand of humor. But the first half of the movie is hysterical, but it's the perfect type of humor. It's just dark and weird, just this offbeat, strange humor. I mean, Rob, have you seen the movie?
I haven't.
Okay, so I mean, it's about basically, it's a very strange premise where in sort of this, I guess, dystopian society, if you are single, you are forced to go to sort of this, resort or retreat. And if you're unable to find a mate within, I think, 45 days or something, you get turned into an animal of your choosing
and sent off into the woods.
Yeah, so it's a very strange concept for a movie, but I love this movie. I think Colin Farrell is amazing. He's genuinely hilarious. John C. Reilly in supporting role is also amazing. I can't say enough about how much I enjoyed this movie. It's just so bizarre and offbeat, but perfect. Just struck me in the right way.
Well, this one, I remember when it came out, and like you said, it seems so bizarre. I thought, but then you start to hear things about it, but by the time you hear those things, it's no longer in the theater. And it's like, crap. So now I have to wait for streaming or DVD. And then by the time that came out, I was off on other stuff. And I completely forgot about this film.
Yeah. Well, I think that obviously, in my opinion, it's worth checking out. I'd love to hear Stefan's thoughts on The Lobster, though.
I haven't seen The Lobster, actually. Yeah, I've seen every movie except for The Lobster. Like, I intensely love Killing of a Sacred Deer. I think it's a wonderful movie. The Favorite is also fantastic. The Lobster, I will go watch now. I love Colin Farrell.
Hyping it up too much for you, but I think it's hilarious. I think it's a fantastic movie. Rachel Weisz also in the movie is fantastic. Like I said, just very bizarre, offbeat humor. But Stephanie, you've seen his other films. The type of humor that goes into those. So you'll probably have a better idea as to what you're getting into.
The humor is like my favorite thing. Like it's wonderful. It's so weird.
But see, too, we were talking with a couple other films. If you get your hype up too much, it actually destroys a film for you.
No,
Yeah.
Be hyped for this. It will get hyped. It will ruin it.
Well,
See, there's a remedy to that, Rob. Is you just got to wait. You get real hyped up, and then Stefan, now you got to wait like 6 months for these. This can subside and forget about this conversation.
I'm going to remind you for 6 months to text Rob.
I'm actually going to email this to you in 6 months. This list.
Yeah.
Say, remember, watch these. Okay, Stefan, you're number 4.
All right. So my number 4 is It Follows. by David Robert Mitchell. I love this movie. When this came out, I was very, very excited. It felt like, for me, kind of like going to see like a prestige horror film and like seeing something that's really, really cool. The soundtrack's awesome. Michael Monroe's performance is awesome. I think that sometimes horror movies are best when they have like a very, very on paper, silly, stupid premise. Like, this is like essentially like a sexually transmitted haunting.
Yeah.
I don't know what you'd call it. If you were to pitch that to me, I would probably just laugh and walk away. Like, it doesn't sound good, but this movie is wonderful.
But Stefan, the scary part is that if people walk at you, right?
Yeah. They just keep walking. Yeah. So you have to run away.
You just walk briskly and you get away.
Here are your millions.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, no, I'm a big fan of this movie as well. I'll let you continue.
I think that's kind of it. I love that it's a group of young people kind of discovering this for themselves. So they're kind of making up the rules as they go. Like, you don't really understand what's truly happening to them. Like, the one time Michael Monroe's character contracts this sexually transmitted haunting. I don't know what the hell you want to call it. Whatever. But they hunt down the person who gave it to her, and he kind of gives them his insight. But like, they're a bunch of kids. Do they really know what this is? You know, there's this like, there's a lack of context to this that I actually appreciate because of the age of the characters. Like, it's a great coming of age horror movie. Not coming of age. I don't know why I said coming of age. It's a young person horror movie.
It was a coming movie.
Yeah, there's lots of coming.
Sorry, couldn't resist that.
A+.
No, I'm on the same page with you there, Stefan. Big fan of the movie, and I made a joke about making it's just people walking towards camera and towards people, but it's genuinely creepy. The way that it's executed in the movie, which is a pretty amazing feat. It's like I said, it's just in the distance you see sort of a shape walking, and then in your mind, you're watching the other character and listening to them have a conversation, but you're also thinking like, oh shit, is this thing coming, or is that just a regular person? Are they going to get out of the room? Get out of the room. So yeah, it's a really great movie.
Well, I think that's what I enjoyed about it too, is you're trying to put your preconceived notions of horror movies to make it fit onto this movie. And every time it starts to follow that line, suddenly it's like, and it's like, I got to catch up. So I that's what I loved about it,
Yeah.
And it's kind of an original thought, it's killer STD, it's literally a topic. But no, I definitely think that deserves a place here.
Glad to have brought it.
Now, my number 4 is just, okay, it's completely different from what you guys picked. It's animated. And I thought this one, to me, is almost a perfect story. It's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah, great movie.
Right?
Excellent choice, Rob.
And I love what they did, bringing the other Spider-Man in to have this warped reality, and the fact that they introduced the other Spider-Man that everybody hated so long ago in comic books, and made him the focal point, Miles Morales. And see, when I collected comics, one of my favorite books to collect was Peter Porker, The Spectacular Spider-Man. I collected that book. So it was awesome to see him on the screen finally. So
you never thought it was going to happen, but
no, I marked out huge for that. I did.
I love John Mulaney, who's the voice actor for him, I believe. So yeah, so A+ all around.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That was a movie that surprised me with how much I enjoyed it. Because I'm typically not a guy that watches a lot of animated movies, superhero movies. I watch them for the most part, but they're not, my thing. And we've seen how many iterations of Spider-Man, but watching this movie, it just felt like a whole different ballgame from, the other movies that we've seen, but also like paying homage to those movies, which was great. But like I said, seeing sort of the different perspective with Miles Morales and that story and bringing in all these other characters. The amount of humor, like with the Nicolas Cage, like noir Spider-Man, was amazing, and the soundtrack was fantastic too. And we can't. Sorry, I'll let you guys talk, but the animation as well. I feel like we can't talk about this movie and not talk about how amazing this movie looks with like some different animation styles that they sort of combined and created.
I have nothing to add.
What's that, Stef?
I have nothing to add. That's exactly how I feel about it. It's a great movie.
Yeah, you brought up a great point that I didn't even think about there, Mitch, with the soundtrack. And the soundtrack it fit it perfectly.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Great choice, Rob. Glad that was on there. Honestly, that was one that I thought about, but I was like, I don't know if I could put this on there just because I've got so many others. But really glad you mentioned it.
And you look at it too because it's a cartoon. Is it really a film because it's a cartoon? But I look at it, and if this was a live action Spider-Man movie, I don't think it would have had the impact that it does as this animated film, because the animation takes you back to being a kid. Every Saturday morning you got up, you watch cartoons, so that's what it was a drawback to. And I think that was the best part of it, which was also a hindrance at the box office because not everybody wants to go to the movies to see a cartoon.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, like you said, a live action version of this same movie wouldn't work nearly as well. Like with the animation style, like you said, it looks like you said, a cartoon or comic book just sort of popping off the screen how do you do the sort of noir Batman and the Peter Porker and things like that in a live action version and not have them look kind of silly or odd? So I think this was absolutely the right choice and a fantastic film.
The only thing that made me mad is I didn't get to see the Hobgobbler.
I don't know what that is.
There's the Spider-Man villain called the Hobgoblin, and it's like a goblin that rides this little Batwing, kind of like the Green Goblin.
So I know the Hobgoblin, but I don't know the Hobgobbler.
Is a turkey that rides the wing,
in the Peter Porker comic.
The Hobgoblin.
Okay. All right.
And that's all I got to say about that.
Well, hopefully we get a sequel and we can see the Hobgoblin.
Yes. Okay. Number 3.
All right. My number 3 choice is Sing Street. Have either of you seen this movie?
I think we have a musical.
Negative.
Okay. Yes, Sing Street is fantastic. It's basically about a group of kids who are growing up in 80s Dublin, who the sort of main kid wants to start a band because he's trying to impress this girl, as so many of us do. But basically, he starts his band, and all their songs are influenced by sort of popular 80s music at the time. So, Duran Duran and The Cure, the Hall & Oates. And so a lot of that stuff is in the soundtrack, but then you see it and you hear it reflected in the songs that they, write and perform in the movie. And the soundtrack is just fantastic. Like, I still listen to it, driving along. Great soundtrack. The movie's full of a heart. It's just a feel-good movie. It's directed by John Carney, who did Once. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but also a fantastic sort of musical. But this is how I like my musical movies. Some might say this doesn't count because they're not just singing the whole time. But movies that are based in reality where they're having conversations and then you get musical numbers and things like that make sense to the story. That's more my thing. And I thought this movie was just fantastic. Just smiling from ear to ear the entire time I watched this movie.
I have a confession. I'm not a particularly huge fan of musicals, so this might be the kind of that if it's somehow steeped in kind of like reality. Maybe this is something that I would enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's definitely how it is for me. Like, I don't care about, for the most part, traditional musicals, whether it be like Chicago or Moulin Rouge or like Les Mis, where they're singing the whole time. I don't need to hear Russell Crowe singing that much. But no, this is very much a movie that's, like I said, it's based in reality. So like if there is a musical number, it's like an imagined musical number. So it's someone thinking about how the performance is going to go, and that's when it can get sort of wild and crazy, and you know that this isn't actually how it's happening. This is how he's imagining it would happen. So it makes sense in that way, and it doesn't become obnoxious with people just like start jumping on tables and dancing or weird things. So I think that if you aren't a traditional musical fan, but if you like 80s music, I think that this is a really good movie. I think you might enjoy it, Stef.
Cool.
I know I'll be watching it because I was just going through that soundtrack, and man, it's got a lot of interesting stuff in there.
Yeah, it's great. The soundtrack's fantastic. Like I said, the music that they chose for the soundtrack, but also all the songs that that sort of band performs in the movie, it's all fantastic. Really great stuff.
So I'm gonna watch now. This was a horrible thing. This is a horrible idea. All right, Stefan, what's your number 3?
All right, so my number 3 is Ex Machina, Alex Garland film about Domhnall Gleeson. Not about Domhnall Gleeson, but Domhnall Gleeson plays a character who wins a coding competition and is invited to kind of like a head of Google-esque type of person at their kind of like remote detachment without any kind of understanding about what's going to happen. So he arrives and he quickly finds out he's going to be the human counterpart in a Turing test with an android. And I love this movie. I think it's great. It has Oscar Isaac. There's a dance number with Oscar Isaac dancing.
The dance number is amazing. When it came like out of nowhere, sort of during the movie. It makes sense, but at the same time, like as soon as that happened, I was like, "This is my favorite movie of all time."
Like my partner and I would like quote the lines that precede the dance number all the time. Where like he's like, "Did you tear up that photo? No, man, fuck off! I'm about to tear up the dance floor." Starts dancing. I'm like, what is this movie? It's wonderful.
And the choreography is amazing too. It's just such a well placed dance number. I love it.
Yeah. Did you see that at all?
I have seen this one. I really enjoyed it. I watched another movie first and found out that Alicia Vikander was in it. So I had to go back and watch it because I watched Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Right? Which actually was a really good movie. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't seen the new one now.
If you like the video game, watch the movie. It feels like a video game, and there's a spot where they're on a boat and it crashes, and you see her looks at the railing. She has to climb the railing, and the gamer in you is already plotting a course to get off the boat. Like it's so cool. But it made me go back to watch this one because I missed it when it first came out, and I had no concept of what it was. I just knew she was in it, and I hit play, and I was blown away. Especially when you get to that end reveal. Like what happens at the end. That kind of just, whoosh,
Yeah, I'm glad that you
this is
her because she's fantastic in the movie as well. God damn it, Steph. Trying to talk here.
Shut up!
Stefan wore his big shoes. He's stepping all over you, isn't he?
It's his movie, so he should have the opportunity.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm done talking about it.
But yeah, it's good. I always go by the IMDb rating somewhat because if it gets high in IMDb, there's some good stuff in it.
Yeah, totally.
And this is a 7.7, so it had some good stuff, which I agree.
Yeah.
So is she on your top 5, Rob?
No, she's not.
5.5,
right after Sally Field.
Yeah, her and Sally Field are.
Yep, it's a tough one. Sally Field just has to do Tomb Raider and forget Alicia.
There we go. I would love to see that movie. If someone told me that Sally Field was going to be Lara Croft in the next Tomb Raider, I would pay money to go see that movie.
Dude, that's all I can see in my head now. Okay.
Is it on me?
My number 3.
Oh, shit. My bad, Rob.
Oh, yeah. Just forget Rob. I see what mine was Joker. And it's weird because, okay, Rob, it's a comic book movie, but it's not for that reason. It's because of the surrealness in the film. A buddy of mine, Chris, we watched it together, and both of us came out of there with completely different concepts of that movie. And it's like we legit watch the same thing, but when we're out there talking, it's like we watch two different films. And this is exactly like you were saying before, Mitch. This is the interpretation of film. This is where the art part of it comes in. That you can make something that it's fact because it's just one film, but there are so many ways you can see it. And I adore this movie for that.
Awesome. Stefan, did you ever watch this?
Nope.
I knew that you were hesitant, but I wasn't sure if you ever got around to it.
I mean, it's unfortunate because Todd Phillips' comments were literally the only reason why I never watched it. Like, it has nothing to do with the movie. I just think Todd Phillips sucks.
Well, you could pull yourself out of it. Like, even they have the whole controversy too about the Gary Glitter song in there.
Yeah.
And I really struggle with that scene. But when you watch that scene, I don't think any other song would have done it justice the way that it is portrayed, especially because of the backstory on that song and the character. It's just the perfect song for that scene. It just sucks that the money goes to someone like that.
I think they found a way to ensure the money didn't go back to Gary Glitter. Don't quote me on that, but I saw an article where they kind of figured something out to ensure that a gross pedophile is not getting money.
Oh, I can't say how much that pisses me off because when I DJ and I play it, I used to play it quite a bit because it's a catchy song. People love it. And now I won't play it, and it bothers me because I used to really like that song.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable song.
Yeah.
Did you see it, Mitch?
I did see Joker. It was one that for me, I think Joaquin Phoenix is the reason to watch the movie for me. It was a good movie, and obviously it borrowed pretty heavily from a few other films, namely The King of Comedy and Taxi Driver, which are both great films. So I enjoyed it, but I think that had it not been Joaquin Phoenix playing that role, it probably would have just been kind of a meh for me. I think that he's really the reason to watch the movie. He's fantastic and just an excellent actor in pretty much everything.
It was his portrayal that made me feel like it was surreal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And he's like I said, he makes the movie worth watching alone. I did have, some issues with the movie, like just some of the dialogue at certain moments or things that just felt, a little too much or too on the nose for me. But overall, I enjoyed the movie, and Joaquin Phoenix was phenomenal in it. So I can't argue with you having it on your list.
All right, number 2.
So I think we'll probably skip over me here because mine was The Social Network, which we already talked about. So I'll let Stefan take over and move on to his number 2 before we get to my number 1.
Okay.
All right. So my number 2 is Get Out. Thoughts, feelings. I love this movie. I think Jordan Peele fucking knocked it out of the park. Just really enjoyable movie. I think everybody's seen it, so there's no point in describing it.
Yes, I've definitely seen it. Rob? No, Rob.
Are you serious?
I've seen Us.
Yeah.
Rob, you're like the horror guy that I know, right? You watch all the horror movies.
I know. Well, what it was with this one is Get Out, and then Us came out. And during that whole process, I forgot which one was the first one. So I watched Us. And I know it's a very lame excuse. And I keep meaning to go back to it, and I always seem to find something else. Get
out of here.
The reason why you haven't watched it was because 2 years later, a different movie came out.
I know. It's horrible. It is.
I wanted to watch it, but then Us came out, and Yeah, it was over.
That was it.
Well, remember
I
before how we
do
talked
love
about-
Us.
what was it? Remember The Lobster? Because I didn't hear about it. I heard good stuff, but it was gone. So then I had to wait for DVD, and by the time that came out, I forgot. That's exactly what happened here. I heard about it by the time it was out of the theater. That's another thing Chatham sucks for. Okay, we finally get an amazing Cineplex here, and they only carry about half of the films, and if they carry them, it's only for about a week or two. So if you don't jump on them fast, they're gone, and you got to go an hour in either direction to go see it. So
Yeah.
that was what it was. Is by the time I heard about it, it was already pulled, and then you wait for the DVD or streaming, and it's like, oh crap, I forgot. And that's what I mean by when Us came out, because that hit the theater. It's like, I got to see that other one first, but I didn't get to see Us in the theater, and then it was a full circle.
I am still not describing this movie. Let's move on.
Yeah, I'll just chime in with big fan of Get Out. Definitely great. Rob, you got to watch it.
Yes.
How many horror movies get multiple Oscar nominations and win, I think, best original screenplay?
And I got to be honest, I may not have seen it, but I know all about it. I know the twist at the end, and I love the concept, and I desperately want to watch it. I just haven't watched it.
Yeah, well, he might come out with another one, and then if that happens, then there's no going back.
I'll never see it. Well, now my number 2 doesn't sound as good, but I
Is it Us?
Yeah, it's Us. Yep. A Star is Born. Bradley Cooper, and what's her name? Lady Gaga. I didn't think I would like this movie. I just watched it because Bradley Cooper was in it, and I just watched The Hangover, and it's like, oh, why not? But man, it's a powerful suicide movie. You know, like when the things happen, and you're sitting there, I was left like, holy crap! I've seen the other remakes, you know, and I know what happens, and it still hit me out of the blue with this film. Like Bradley Cooper did an amazing job for his directorial debut. That's all I can say.
I didn't see this.
Unfortunately, he had another movie that came out after, so I couldn't.
See, that distracted you exactly.
No, I did see A Star Is Born, and I did like the movie a lot, and I think Bradley Cooper did do a really good job directing the film. It's also really good in the movie.
Yeah, both
him and Lady Gaga are really good. Surprised to hear how talented a singer he was. You know, just guy's handsome, and you know, he's got all the muscles, and he can act, and now he can sing and direct too. It's, you know, come on, dude. Let's save some for the rest of us. But I'm a big fan of Bradley Cooper. I think that he, you know, maybe after A Star Is Born this changed, but I don't think he gets enough credit as a dramatic actor. One movie that I nearly put on my list was Silver Linings Playbook, because I think he's fantastic in that movie. And I really like that movie a lot. So yeah, I liked A Star Is Born. I didn't love the music. I think if I enjoyed the music more, it would have brought it to another level for me. But I thought the music was fine. It wasn't a soundtrack that I went and downloaded afterwards. I didn't listen to Shallow 40 times.
Not a Sing Street. It's
not a Sing Street for me.
Yes. Okay. Number 1.
All right. So I guess only fitting that we go back to sort of crime, dark, violent movies. Nightcrawler is my number 1. I remember watching this in the theater and just being so giddy, especially at this sort of the climax of the movie when they're chasing down the. Sorry, am I spoiling things? I know, Stefan, you've seen it. Rob,
I've seen this. I love it. Yeah,
I've seen it.
This is when they're chasing down the guy after he's, you know, shot up the restaurant or whatever, and there's sort of like the high-speed chase with the police, and then their car following behind. Just the amount of adrenaline just rushing through. I was like getting goosebumps watching it. Just so well executed, and like just technically brilliant filmmaking there. But the whole movie sits on Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, which is just fantastic.
Go ahead, Rob.
I just say we watched trailers for this on the Madhouse, And every time we watched the trailer and talked about it, it's like, okay, I don't get this story. I don't get where this is going. I just don't get it. And I was sitting at home, and what was I doing? I can't remember, but I noticed it was on one of the streaming things that I had. It's like, oh, I'm going to give this a shot. I watched it twice, back to back. And you're right. Gyllenhaal's performance was just incredible. How intense he got into that role. It's a must see.
Yeah. The script for this is probably my favorite script of the last 10 years. Like, if I read the script before this and was super excited about it, I was keyed up, and then I saw the movie and I was like, this is amazing. This is a great translation to film.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the script? Okay.
Yeah, the script is reads like it's like a bullet out of a gun. Like it's you burn through that script.
I agree. Sorry, I was looking at something else. I got a little distracted, kind of like.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm back.
But yeah, Nightcrawler, I think we're all in agreement that this is a fantastic, wonderful movie. I didn't watch, and I should give it more of a chance, but honestly, I've tried watching it a couple of times and just didn't get into it. The sort of follow-up, the Velvet something?
Velvet Buzzsaw.
Yeah. Did you guys see that?
I suffered from the same problem. I started it and stopped. And I've never
I did that multiple times. Like I don't know what it is about the movie, but I've just tried watching it a couple of times and maybe gotten 20, 30 minutes in and just like, I'm just not feeling it. And then go something else. And I feel like I owe it to the director to go and watch the movie because I love Nightcrawler so much. I don't know. There's just something about it that I just couldn't get into.
That I haven't seen either. So don't worry.
All right.
See, we're all going to get together finally and hang out, and this is what we'll watch. See? All right, Stefan, you're number one.
So my number one, I think, would be pretty obvious if you know me. My number one is Hereditary. I will go down swinging defending this friggin' movie. I love this movie. The Toni Collette's performance is A+. I think the head hitting a telephone pole is the scene. Everybody's seen this. Like it's horrifying. I called my dog King Paimon after this. Like that's how much I love this movie, and also because he's one of the kings of hell for sure. Because he's a nightmare. I love Midsummer. I'm excited for his next movie. Big fan. That's where I'm at.
I haven't seen this one.
So you haven't seen this one?
I have not seen this one.
Shit.
There's two. This is a Hereditary and Midsummer that I've been told I have to see.
Yeah, 100% agree with whoever's been telling you that. They're both great movies. Stefan and I watched Midsummer together and both had a wonderful time, if that's how you describe it. But Hereditary is great, and I think you hit the nail on the head with a few things there. With Toni Collette's performance is brilliant, just fantastic work by Toni Collette in that movie. But yeah, just there's a lot of things, and you mentioned striking imagery, and there's the use of like the sort of dollhouse, the shots involving that. Like, I don't know how they did it because I don't know that shit, but just really creative, interesting visuals. I actually really like Gabriel Byrne in this movie as well.
Yeah,
as the father.
I didn't know he was in it.
He is in it. And the scene that you referenced, Stefan, which I don't know if Rob heard, I won't be repeating.
No, go ahead.
With the one moment that made me basically my jaw drop watching the movie, and it's just like, oh fuck, like that doesn't happen that much when I'm sitting watching a movie by myself. But that was definitely an oh fuck moment for me watching it. It was crazy, yeah, really, because it didn't go in the direction that I thought it was going to at all. And that honestly, moment just like solidified that okay, this is not what I thought I was getting. I am not getting with this movie. So yeah, really great choice.
Yeah, I think this movie's. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
I was going to say, I think this movie suffered from like weird, like advertising where they kind of like equated it to like, here's the next Exorcist, which I think is a stupid thing to say. It's the next Rosemary's Baby or something to that effect. Like it feels like nestled in that kind of like horror realm. I think people were expecting something vastly different, and I think that's kind of why there's like a slight backlash to it after it was like so well received critically, and I don't think audience expectations kind of like reached the critical level. I could be wrong on that too. I don't know.
No, I think that like I heard similar things, and like I can't recall what the advertising is, but I think that that's happened with a number of movies over the last however many years, where it seems like it's marketed as this movie is so scary, and then people go see it, and then it's what is it? It Comes at Night, or it's The Witch, or it's this movie, where these are really, they're more slow burn movies where there's definitely like horrific shit happening, but it's not, fast paced horror movie that you're going to have jump scares, every 5 minutes. And so I think that that's, like you said, sort of what happened with this, where people were expecting it to be, oh, it's going to be this scare fest. And then they went in and it was not exactly, what they were hoping for. But I think it's a great movie. I don't fucking care. Just watch the movie. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They had the same thing with M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit. People went into it expecting one thing, and it turned out to be completely different. And that kind of,
yeah,
I feel like that's what people should expect with an M. Night Shyamalan movie, though. Like, there's going to be a twist.
Exactly.
They still haven't learned, Stef.
Well, I guess that leaves my number one. And this one, it was in 2017. It blew me away. I know it's a superhero movie, but it's not. And it's Logan.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can find that.
Yeah,
I absolutely adore that movie. I especially like the Blu-ray copy that I got. It's called Logan Noir.
Yeah.
And they did it completely in black and white. And it makes him look so much more grizzled and old, It's weird how pulling the color from film can age someone. That scene in the bathroom after the beginning when he's popping the bullets out of his chest in black and white, he looks like he's like 300 years old, and those scars stand out. So doing it in black and white, I think, was the best thing they could have done for that film. Not to mention, the story to me for that, especially because I'm a Wolverine fan, and they did this one so natural. I saw a parody trailer where they did it as a father-daughter road trip movie. So you get the happy music, and it's him in X-23. But I guess that's all I can really say on that. I just love the grittiness of this film.
I remember when this came out, before it came out, and they're talking about its pre-production and stuff like that. It was titled Logan. There was a lot of speculation that it was like going to be based on Old Man Logan, which is like bananas insane story. And like I don't know how they could commit to doing that. So I thought it was going to be something like intensely watered down and like really blah. And then this came out and it was awesome. Like I had a blast watching this movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And Rob, I think that you mentioned that you're a big fan of Westerns, and I think that that's this movie is heavily influenced by Westerns, and the R rating. For me, I don't like I love this movie, and I don't like sort of PG-13 violence in a lot of things, like in superhero movies where you can't show blood or certain things. But it's in all the X-Men movies leading up to this. It's like, okay, here's a guy that has fucking claws on his hands, and we don't ever see him actually do anything, like what the damage would be like. And so for me, I'm like, I want to see what the sort of realistic version of a dude with claws on his hands taking people out looks like. Maybe I'm just weird and sadistic, but you get that in this movie. You get great action sequences, and like you said, they feel real because you see the damage that this guy would actually do to people. And it's incredible. And the movie itself, like just the whole story with him and the young girl and Patrick Stewart, so many great things in Logan. Really love this movie too. Great choice, Rob.
Yeah, that opening fight with the limo and the Mexicans. The first thing he does is he jams the claws right into the guy's forehead, and you're going, "Yes, this is
that's what I've been waiting for."
Yeah. Man, but that list, like our list, is very diverse, and I love that. I am going to post this list too, so if people want to, check out the films that we talked about on here.
Do you guys have any like picks that were like hard to exclude from your list?
Yeah,
like some like, yeah. Do you guys?
I had to
bring those out for me. And Pompeii. Yeah. Is Sally fielding that?
I wish I could have hung out with her on set.
Yeah, no, Mitch worked on that film. That's why I like to shove that one in there. Like I said, the only ones for me were the Planet of the Apes movies. I really like the reboots they did and the Star Wars films. But again, that's what I mean. That's a franchise, and I don't.
Yeah.
I know technically Logan's part of the X-Men franchise, but it's different.
It's definitely feels more of a standalone movie that's not just a comic book popcorn movie. Let me see what notes I have here. It's certainly tons of movies that I'm like, oh, that's a great movie. Oh, that's a great movie too. But I can't include them all. Blue Ruin was one that was hard for me to leave off, but I was really glad that you brought it up. What else do I have here? I mentioned Silver Linings Playbook, but just like something like Her, which is a movie that I've watched a number of times, which I think is excellent. Another Joaquin Phoenix movie. I think Lady Bird is a great movie that obviously got a lot of awards recognition and attention, but something that not a movie that I would have thought like, oh, this will hit. This will resonate with me a lot. But watching that movie, I was like, oh yeah, this young girl in like Catholic school in the 90s. I'm like, that was my life. So yeah, those ones. I'm sure that there were plenty more things in my sort of reading online and going through the years. But those ones are ones that stood out. What about you? What are some of your honorable mentions?
It pained me not to include Moonlight. I love that movie. I think it's great. I wanted to have one sci-fi movie, so it was kind of a fight between Coherence and Ex Machina. Coherence, I think, is a wonderful sci-fi movie. Let's see, Incendie, the Denis Villeneuve movie. This was before he did Prisoners, I want to say, and it's like. It's a gut punch movie. I would definitely recommend that. And I think that's kind of it. I have one random one, which is Uncle Boonmee, Who Can Recall His Past Lives. That movie is wonderful and very, very weird and very impactful for me.
Okay, I know nothing about that movie other than I've seen it mentioned a billion times in lists and things that I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it must be something it's
worth checking out for sure.
I watched we talked about foreign films a little bit, and I brought up I Saw the Devil, but The Hunt was also one that I like. It didn't almost make my list because I didn't really think about it, but I love that movie. It's a fantastic movie. Not the recent one, but the Danish film with Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
But also, I just recently watched a film on Netflix that I may have mentioned to you, Stefan. The Fury of a Patient Man. Spanish, also kind of revenge movie, but just perfectly executed, just exactly my kind of movie. So watching that, I was like, yeah, they made this for me. So that's a really great choice. Oh, Animal Kingdom too. Love that movie.
A+ movie. That's a really good movie.
Yes.
I just
Excellent.
rewatched that the other night. I'm like, yeah, this movie's fucking great.
Yeah, Australian crime family movie. I mean,
Done. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining me tonight. This was a blast going through these lists. Now, which was more fun, making the list or talking about it?
talking about it.
100% talking about it. As much as making a list is fun, this is fantastic. I was supremely jealous the other night when I saw Stefan and you talking, and I was like, oh man, like these guys are talking about movies. I want to talk about movies too. So thank you for mentioning this and having me on here, Rob. This was a ton of fun. I would gladly do this again in a heartbeat. Anytime you want to do this, just let me know.
Excellent. Well,
yeah, same here.
We are at, oh crap, we went over our time. Uh-oh. I better end this. All right, everybody. Thanks again for another week at the Movie Madhouse. I'm Rob.
That's Stefan.
Yeah. Oh, he's frozen.
And I'm Mitch.
There we go.
I froze.
You literally did.
All right. Stefan, bye.
We will see y'all later.